I'm Peggy Stevenson. I teach in the Justice Studies Department at San Jose State. I teach courts and society, and I also teach the classes that are associated with the San Jose State Record Clearance Project. Started out as a lawyer. I went to law school to do public interest work and worked in legal services offices around the country for about 10 years, which are offices where people receive free legal assistance for a variety of civil types of cases. My particular interest was low-wage workers' rights. And I found that I loved the work, and I really loved getting better at it. And I also really loved helping some of the newer lawyers as I progressed with develop their own skills. So when I came to San Jose, after being with Legal Services of New Jersey, I was fortunate to be able to start working at a clinical program in East San Jose that was part of Santa Clara University Law School. And clinical programs are really wonderful creations. They hire faculty who are able to use their experience and their interest to teach people how to perform the work that they've been doing. And I was at Santa Clara, ran the program that what was then called the East San Jose Community Law Center for 7 years, and then moved to East Palo Alto and ran a program and participated in the Stanford Community Law Center in East Palo Alto, where we did the same thing for about 5 years. When that office got smaller, I was able to come to San Jose State. That was in 2007, and teach courts and society, which is a class that I have continued to teach since then. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. How we can have courts be more responsive to society and use the courts to protect people's rights. I decided that we should have a practical application for the things that the students were learning in courts and society. So I thought, well, I had done a bit of record clearance work at the Stanford Community Law Center. So why don't we see if the undergraduates can do the same kind of thing? I'm going to stop right here to just add that the record clearance work that we started to do at the Stanford Community Law Center was inspired by a community member group that called All of Us or None. And they came to us and said, if you're really a community law center, like it says in your name, you would be doing record clearance work. And I said, I don't know anything about criminal law. I have never done anything like that. But fortunately, the students there were like, oh, that sounds cool. Let's do that. And I was like, all right, we'll respond. So for a couple of years, I was doing record clearance work with the Stanford law students. And then the center downsized, and I came to San Jose State in 2007 and decided, as part of the courts and society class that I was teaching, that we could continue to do this too as a class project to kind of show the students how a case moved through court and ultimately have a court decision on the cases that the students had worked at during the class. So that was a phenomenal success. People loved it. I loved it. And fast forward 3 years to 2011. By that time, we had 3 courses approved as part of the record clearance project, and were able to focus the academic curriculum on developing skills and applying them that the students would need to continue to provide legal services. So we expanded the class. Students gave community education presentations on expungement rights, and we added the employment rights of people with criminal records, because that's the main reason that people are seeking to clear their records, is to get a job or advance in their careers. We included brief legal advice sessions so that the students were able to meet the clients, and sort of a triage kind of program where they would review people's rap sheets and then give them information about what was there, because a lot of people didn't know, and the next steps that the people could take for in pursuing the records. And then we also did with advanced students in a couple of the classes where for advanced students, they represented clients in preparing their petitions for court. So that involved interviewing skills, involves still because we're doing it, interviewing skills, drafting court petitions, particularly using the information that they're able to develop from the clients to put into personal statements called declarations. And these declarations tell the client's stories in the first person to the judge. We've been doing that, developing it since 2011 in these 3 classes. And, somebody might ask, well, can undergraduates really perform these legal services that these typically have been law school clinical programs, but now we've got this only undergraduate clinical program in the country. Can undergraduates really do this? I would say that the answer is yes. We have a 99% plus success rate in court. The clients give the students outstanding evaluations on the services that they've received. And we've spoken to over 12,000 people about their legal rights. And that's students that are doing the presentations with me as an attorney or other attorneys helping out, coming along to supervise any of the legal work. It requires a big staff and fundraising in order to support them, and that's always a challenge. But we have, with that phenomenal success rate, the students, the clients say, "You've changed my life," and the students are amazed to realistically, truthfully know that they are the ones who have indeed changed somebody's life. So that's part of what I love about the program, is that it meets a real need in the community, a real powerful need in the community that gives people a benefit that is really scarce and few people know actually that they have the rights to clear the records that they do. But because it's such an important thing, because it makes such a difference in people's lives, the students feel like this is something that they have worked very hard in their education. It's something that they have used their education to assist others. And so many students have told me that I will never forget the client who sat across from me at the table when I was telling her that all of her convictions had to be dismissed. Or the students go to court, watch a judge dismiss the case, watch the client break down in tears with gratitude and relief, and the students are dumbfounded that it was their drafting, it was their interactions with this client that brought that result about. I don't meet the clients typically until the day of the hearing. I'm very familiar with their cases because I supervise the work that goes into having these petitions prepared for court. It's under my bar card, it's my attorney license, so I have to be very familiar with it and very involved. But it's truly the students who have the connection, and they do a fabulous job. What the students do is let people know that the types of cases that can be dismissed, many of them, criminal convictions that can be dismissed, which are really, many. And also another important function is reducing felonies to misdemeanors. Some felonies have to be reduced. Many felonies can be reduced. And once a felony is no longer a felony, that opens many doors, for example, to housing assistance, to federal financial educational assistance. The FAFSA form asks about past drug convictions, though hopefully that's changing. But basically not having a felony conviction anymore and not having a conviction anymore provides a huge benefit. The labor code in California prohibits employers or prospective employers for asking about or considering any conviction that's been dismissed. So these cases that these criminal convictions that have been dismissed, and the opportunity to have a clear record opens enormous doors primarily in terms of employment, also in terms of housing, education, immigration benefits from reducing felonies to misdemeanors, family reunification, so that Children can be placed with relatives who may have a record that then gets dismissed. Occupational licensing. There's a whole range of opportunities that open up once the convictions on a person's record have been dismissed. The other sort of related but not legal necessarily, but quasi-legal response. The other benefit is a psychological one, in that people feel that they have been held back by their conviction history, by past mistakes that they've made. And now that a judge has said, you are entitled to this relief, you have moved beyond the time of your sentence and I'm going to dismiss this conviction, it is a really powerful, empowering, sort of second chance for people to say that, to see that they are more than their past mistakes, that they have moved on, that the hard work that they have done has been rewarded. For many of our clients, the conviction histories result from having been abused or neglected as children, self-medicating to deal with the trauma, and having a resulting drug or alcohol addiction, which leads to a conviction history. And it can be a fairly extensive one. A client, we were just working on his case recently, and I think he has 20 cases, but all resulting from the fact that addiction is a really powerful thing, and that there has been a war on drugs that has affected our communities, particularly our low-income Latino and African-American communities that disproportionately who've been, I'm going to say that again, have disproportionately affected our Latinx and Black communities who have been targeted by police and by aggressive prosecution, and who lack the resources to hire an attorney to represent them in court. So consequently, the vast majority of our clients are people of color, low-income people of color, and those the opportunity to move forward for those individuals is through these free services that the students are providing as part of their education, provides a profound opportunity to move forward in their lives. This is true. It's truly anti-racism work. There was a powerful movement we all know last summer, the summer of 2020, protesting the disproportionate effect of, among other things, the criminal law system in communities of color. And we see that in the conviction histories of the clients who come to us. The vast majority of our students are first-generation students, and many of whom have family members and some of whom have records themselves. But they, as first-generation students, they don't have access to attorneys out there in their family or, social connections. And people so they see themselves now in, well, I'm just gonna stop there. So they don't have access to attorneys in their personal lives. When they do the work, the legal work that the Record Clearance Project teaches them and supervises them to do, they consider the possibility of law a legal career for the first time. And in fact, we have an increasing number of students who think of law as a possibility for themselves, and indeed alumni who have gone on to law school and come back to volunteer for the Record Clearance Project once they've been admitted to the bar. So it opens possibilities in career choices for the students who participate. Certainly, there's no requirement that people, who do the Record Clearance Project work go on to law school. We have alumni who are many who work in law enforcement, people who work in social work, in nonprofit organizations, and what they all bring with them is the experience of having understood from an individual basis, the lives of people involved in the criminal law system, so that they can avoid these labels of criminal or felon, words we don't use about our clients. We talk about them as people with criminal convictions or people with felonies, but they can avoid these labels and understand that these are people that have histories and pasts and hopes and dreams. One of our students who's with the sheriff's department told me shortly after he started his job that he's very pleased now because when he arrests somebody for something, he can tell them, don't worry, your record coming from this arrest or this conviction can be cleared, which is kind of a strange dichotomy to me. But I think what it illustrates is that people see their clients as human beings. And I think that's critically important. The classes that I teach are JS 103, Justice Studies 103, which is Courts and Society. And that's where the program started. But while I refer to the Record Clearance Project in that class, we're no longer doing the Record Clearance Project as a class project because it's just expanded so enormously that it wouldn't fit anymore. The classes that I teach for the Record Clearance Project that we created are JS 140. And that's the introductory class for basically people from all over the university. I think right now we have not just justice studies majors, but communications, advertising, political science, sociology, and maybe a couple others. It's open. We've had people, we've had engineering students, we've had psychology students, we've had people from all over campus, African American studies, Chicano and Latino studies. Anyway, it's a broad program of I think hopefully great appeal. In that class, the students learn information about how to clear records, what the record clearance laws are, the protections in the penal code, these opportunities that are there for people that people just don't know about. They learn how to read people's rap sheets, which is truly an art. They learn how to do community presentations. And we worked very hard with them on making sure that the information that they're conveying is clear and that they're expressing it effectively. The presentations that we've done are that students go into jail. Now with the pandemic, the jails are closed, but we're making arrangements to go in via Zoom to do these presentations again, because reaching people in jail at a time where they're receptive to possibilities for change is really powerful. And sadly, the percentage of people who know about their legal rights in jail is lower than the percentage of people who report knowing about their rights in the community. So there's a desperate need for people who are in custody to get this information and potentially, change their lives with that information. In fact, we have had numbers of clients who have said, we saw you in jail, I'm here now. One guy was coming into our office to get begin the process of clearing his record. And he had a copy of the presentation that we gave in jail from 2016 saying, okay, I listened to you and I'm ready. So it makes a big difference. We go out, do community presentations. The students also learn interviewing skills. They learn how to convey information clearly and with respect. One of the things I'm most proud of is the ratings that we ask the clients to evaluate the work that the students are doing. And consistently, we're in the high 90s% of the top rating for my client. My student treated me with respect in conveying this information. Often clients will say, they did not judge me, and that's a powerful thing since people are so used to being judged. I'm going to stop right now because there are pieces there. What people learn in JS 140 is legal rights, how to read a rap sheet, how to give community presentations at various sites, including jail, how to interview people and convey information clearly, how to draft legal petitions in effective form, and how to work with a court interpreter, work with an interpreter in a legal setting so that we can best serve clients who do not speak English. And in the process of all of those things, the students gain practical information, practical experience, which is through giving these presentations. An attorney is there, but they give the presentations, the students do. And in the JS 140 class, they interview roughly 4 or 5 clients in a brief legal services interview where they review their rap sheets and tell them their next steps in going forward to clear their records. Then in the advanced classes, JS 141 and JS 142, the students who have gone through JS 140 and done exceptionally well are assigned a client at the beginning of the course. They interview that client for a court petition, and they work in teams of 2. They prepare the paperwork going back and forth with the supervising attorney, and then once that case is done, present it to the client for approval or review or edits, and then they get their next client. So they, in the advanced class, they get a couple students. I also want to mention a class in the JS 142 class. The advanced students focus on assisting people in our Path to Expungement mentoring program. So we started realizing that people needed assistance from the point at which they got out of custody. And we were connecting with them as we were giving presentations in jail, but realized that people need help not going back to the same old neighborhood and the same old lifestyle. They needed help to learn a new way of living, a new structure to their lives, and needed resources such as housing, transportation, cell phones, and guidance to move forward to the time at which they would be eligible to apply for expungement. So in 2013, we started the Path to Expungement program that works with people starting in custody to get ready to apply when they're legally eligible to apply. And one of the joys of that is that we've hired former clients who've had their records cleared as the mentors, as peer mentors, to guide people from custody to a new life. What we hear from the clients who are coming out of custody is that here's this person who has been in the same position as they're in, who now is working for San Jose State University and has gotten so much in their life together that this is the opportunity that they want for themselves. So JS 142 is called, includes community engagement. In that class, the students support the mentors in providing the services to the clients who are in custody and recently released from custody so that they can have the skills and the resources that they need to move on with their lives. So students in that class, for example, may help clients fill out applications to community colleges. They may write up letters of support that clients can use in court to show that they're on the right path and engaged in this program at San Jose State with a mentor who's helping them. I write a lot of letters of recommendation because there's no program like this. So for people, for undergrads to be able to say as they're applying to higher, to graduate education, by the way, I've assisted 2 people in clearing their criminal convictions from the records and have interviewed 10 people at brief legal advice sessions and have given presentations to people in jail or at adult rehabilitation centers or church groups. Or that's unique. I think the secret to making these classes work is structuring them so that the students understand that they need to and can use their education to change people's lives. So that takes maximizing the time that they can spend on their classes to make a difference. I think another thing that I do is stand back. Once we've set the structure, so the clients are lined up for their interviews and the students are prepared or trained, that it's their time to do the work that they've studied hard and practiced doing. So of course we assure that, you know, the clients are all receiving the highest quality services that are out there, but it's not, it's not that I don't jump into interviews when they're talking to clients, and I don't meet the clients until the day of court. So I think preparing the students, trusting them when they're ready. There are times when they're not ready, and then they just study some more, practice some more. And then standing back and watching them do their work is what makes it, and that's when the magic happens. I think there are other programs on campus that do similar things. We've been delighted to be part of Communiversity since 2011 when the classes started. Communiversity is a fabulous program that also does service learning, and I want to give a big shout out to Communiversity and the work that they do in meeting community need. So I think that finding a real community need, recognizing a real community need, and then training the students, giving them the experience to meet that need. Work-life balance is something that I'm still working on. I remind myself that the word is balance, that one can work really hard for a little bit of time, but eventually one quickly needs to restore the balance and devote the resources to the life part that has been neglected for a bit. When my kids were young and I was trying to work part-time, so I would keep my hand in as a lawyer and not get too far behind and still feel like I had, was making a difference on the professional level, but still had 2 little kids to take care of. That I think one has to constantly reevaluate how where you're pulling too hard, what you're drawing from too much. No, I think you just have to realize that you have to protect yourself. You have to do what needs to be done. If you spend your whole life meeting the next immediate need, then your life is, passes you by. And I think one just really needs to continue to assess, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right way to spend my time? Then go for a walk and realize, okay, I think I need to do this a little bit more. Thank you very much for your interest. I'd be delighted to talk to anybody about the Record Clearance Project or other opportunities to assist community members. So just feel free to get in touch. Officially, I'm Margaret Stevenson. So hopefully you can find me in the Justice Studies Department, if not via email.